Me? Yes.
I just said that so I can use that sound clip later. Oh, Mary, do me a
Can I
favor.
record too so that I can? I've been putting my stuff up on YouTube, so that means that you guys will all be on the Creating Great Groompod YouTube.
Yeah, and I'm fine with this. It's fine.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll live.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mary, move
Well, I
your
didn't
mic a little closer to you.
Oh,
Is that better?
That is actually better. Yes.
Okay.
is it? Okay.
Little.
All right.
Wait, hold on, is my volume
Mine's
up?
got bling.
Well, my mic has got fancy colors.
Ooh,
That is true.
Mine is a condenser mic from an actual radio station, from a radio DJ. This is a working mic. It has spit on it from local celebrities.
Wow,
I know.
celebrity spit.
Yes.
Just don't.
I did
just
college
don't lick
radio.
Since we're already
college radio.
recording, maybe we should introduce
Oh, yeah.
the podcast.
Hang on a second. Okay. I'm running this show. I had to hit my other record anyway. Okay.
We're making Mary do video editing.
This
Oh
dog
no,
leg
we're not making
stinks,
Mary do
man.
video editing.
Okay, groomer, do something about it, man.
Hey, all you pet stylists, you found the Groom Pod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susie, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anyone who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. One of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and co-star of the show, Miss Barbara Bird, who is not with us today, by the way. She was supposed to be here, but she worked a long day. Hey, welcome to episode 354 of the Groom Pod. Hang on a second. 354 of the Groom Pod and episode number 2 of the Traveling Groom Pod and episode number 1 of Creating Great Groompod, Traveling Groompods. It's Creating Great
Traveling Groom Pods.
Yes, it's November 9th. We are in Nashua, New Hampshire, Hillside, New Jersey, and Snohomish and Sequim, Washington. This week, we are going to talk about cutting drying time and just shoot the shit a bunch with all of these really awesome ladies. So today we have with us Mary Oquendo from Pet Groomer Town Hall, Positive Ed, Traveling Groomers, and Positive and
women petpreneurs.
Petpreneurs. See that damn name. That's a terrible name for me to say. I don't know what the deal is. We also have with us Chrissy Neumyer Smith from Creating Great Grooming Dogs and my own very personal teacher. And we have with us Chris Bear Anthony from Evolution Shears, the magical shear lady. And yes, so there we go. Hi, everybody. How is we all?
He's good.
We is vaguely amused that we shushed Mary a little for talking over the opening and then proceeded to laugh over the opening.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I'm amused at myself. Oh, and just so that I won't have to record it later, if you're following the Traveling Groomers, welcome to episode number 187, recorded on November 9th, will be airing on November 23rd. It will be our Thanksgiving special because we have
hold
an
on a second.
abundance of
Back
people.
up,
God.
back up. We are not dropping an episode the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Why not?
Because
why not?
I am going to be knee deep in turkey and baking cookies and all sorts of good things on that.
You can just schedule it, right?
I know I can. However, it's still, there's a little bit of promotion that goes along with it. So I will
You can schedule those.
but I can only schedule so much. I could schedule in the groups. Okay. I could schedule for the podcast to go up. What I can't do is I can't share it on my profile page and I can't tag people in it. So unless Chris would like to do that.
We'll talk. We'll talk. Maybe. Because I was going to say, when do you need the episode to you by?
Well, no, the problem is the Wednesday I'm
The
going to be
prob-
flying.
Oh, okay. Well, then give me a list of the other Facebooky crap to do. I'll do it.
Okay, well, then now that we have that decided, this week's What's New is brought to you by. All right, guys, I have a story to share with you from this week that is just a super duper trip. And it's not directly grooming related, but it is kind of dog related. So my horse right in the front yard, right? Horse. Yeah, still. I'm
Horse,
still-
horse, horse.
Yeah,
I haven't
my-
heard a horse update in a while.
I know it. My
Ooh.
barn is a little bit of ways down by the neighbor's house. And of course, it's very dark here in the morning. So I get my lantern and I've got my clothes on and I walk out to the barn. And of course, she neighs at me and I give her a little cuddle and I pour the pellets into the bag or into the dish, which makes a bunch of noise. And then I kick it across my cement floor, which also makes a bunch of noise. And she starts eating, and there's nothing better than the noise of a horse munching on her breakfast, right? And I'm standing there enjoying the moment. And I go to climb up onto my hay rack where I've got to reach up to the top and get her hay. And there's eyes looking at me from the ground. I mean, yeah, hello. And it's reflective eyes in the lantern. And there's a dog. Wait, no, it's not a dog. It's an ancient coyote asleep in the corner of the barn. And I'm sure, I don't know why, I feel like it was a female. It had female in it, like grandmotherly features. It was skin and bones. It had mange, and it was 29 degrees here, and she was all cocooned up in a big pile of hay that was on the ground, tucked in behind my wood pile. And I stopped and I backed away from her. And I went and got the neighbor and I said, "You're not going to believe this. There's a coyote and Maisie is just letting her sleep in the barn right there. She's just letting her sleep in the barn." So the neighbor comes out in her pajamas and we're out there with the lantern and we're looking at the coyote and trying to decide what to do. So I got a dish out and I filled it with water and I was able to walk right up to her and set it down next to her. And then I cut another hay bale from the other side and I fed the horse and I walked away. And then I started to think about it. And a few minutes later, I get a text from the neighbor and she said, "She's gone. She left." And I'm like, "Oh, I wish she would have stayed. I would have fed her." But off she went. And then the neighbor behind me on this other side has Borzoi. She's a Borzoi breeder and shower, very well known. So I texted her and I said, "FYI, this was in my barn this morning." And she sends me back a picture of the coyote going up in front of her house. She said, I saw her. She said, I wanted to try to get her some water or something. She looks so old." And I said, "I know, she's old and arthritic." And she said, "Well, I'm going to go out and get in the car and make sure she's not hit on the road or something." We never did find her again, but man, what a trip. I looked down and there's a dog laying in the barn, but it's not a dog at all. It's this ancient, beautiful, living wild in the pipeline coyote that's decided to take shelter in the barn. And it was pretty cool. I liked it. It was neat.
Aw.
We've had a couple really cold nights up here.
Yes. Yeah, I went out and bought a blanket. Of course, purple, you know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So she's got a, yeah.
You're not
she's
a
got-
monster who would put their horse in something other than purple.
I
Oh, no,
know.
it's for the coyote. It's for the coyote.
Stay still, wild animal.
So
I'll put the
Grandma
blanket on
Wiley,
you.
right? So Grandma Wiley, actually that's good luck depending on how you look at it. I love the trickster totems.
The
I
trickster
love
totems.
the reminder to not take yourself too seriously and always be able to laugh. And it can be a symbol of someone who's got to rely on their wits to do things, maybe to take a deeper look in yourself. But I think that is really good juju for you that she came and took shelter in your barn.
I was pretty excited about it, considering Maisie herds the deer out of the yard. She goes after them like cattle and goes back and forth and tries to chase them out of the yard. Of course, then she stands next to them and eats too. So she's pretty tolerant, but it was fun. That was pretty much
neat.
the most exciting thing that happened to me this week, except for I tweaked my back. I have an old gymnastics injury. My T4 is dislocated forward. And every once in a while, it causes me problems. It has not caused me problems for well over 3 years. And the reason I know this is because my chiropractor flew away to Canada 3 years ago for the virus, and he hasn't come back. So I'm now slightly like a pretzel. I've got a thing out in my neck, a thing out in my lower back, and I'm called this place and I said, hey, I'm a pretzel in search of a chiropractor. Can I get an appointment? So I'm going to get it cracked back into place. I know exactly what it is. It took me a while to recognize it, but man, I spent a day on my back. I hated that. That's like death for me.
I know,
You,
know,
can't
Chris,
say it still.
Chris, you're talking about, animals and totems, right? So I'm
Uh-huh.
driving along the highway, right? And there's turkey vultures on up at all the poles, right? And they all have their wings spread out, right? Every single one of them. There had to be like 30 of them, right? And the first thought that comes to my head is like, Armageddon. Because why else would there be like 30 turkey vultures with their wings outspread up on the highway?
That might be a bad omen.
No, actually, it's a good omen because first thing I did is I get on the phone to a friend of mine who that's sort of what she does. And I'm like, can you clarify something for me? Is this good or bad? Because I'm thinking, end of world right now. And she's like, no, that's a really good thing. Consider yourself blessed.
It's cleansing, adaptability, patience, loyalty. It can be death and rebirth, but remember, they're associated with death. But what they do is they clean things up so that disease doesn't spread.
I don't
They
know.
actually
it may just
provide
be
a
me,
good service.
but I think they were probably warming their bodies in the sun.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
what do I
Just
know?
like, oh.
Oh.
I can imagine that would look pretty creepy. I have
And
to
no,
say.
you know what? Yeah, it was really creepy. Okay.
Here
I'm not
these
gonna lie.
poor turkey vultures watching Mary's parade, and she doesn't even appreciate it.
Oh, it's so true.
They're like, a human with purple hair. What does that
Oh
symbolize?
no, this is way before the purple hair, Chrissy.
Oh, okay. So anybody else have anything fun from this week's grooming adventures or just fun stories in general?
You even
go ahead.
prepped me, and I don't, this week was.
Okay, well then let me pull some things out.
No,
Chrissy.
Chrissy has a story.
Yeah, Chrissy,
say,
Chrissy,
Yes.
I understand your guys are taking over the Teton show. I want to hear about that.
Yes. Yeah. Gabrielle Finney did it last year and she asked for help. So we're providing a whole bunch of help for that and kind of taking it over so that show can continue. And it's super exciting. I'm really excited about it.
And I joked with Dara on the phone during a committee meeting that this is hard work. I want a t-shirt that says staff. And then I felt demanding and said, no, just kidding. But I don't think I'm kidding. If I have to make it myself, I want a staff t-shirt because this has been a week and I'm already like, this is a butt ton of work. This is a metric butt ton of work.
Which is why putting together an in-person trade show is not on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's off of mine. It only was on there for a little while, but I booted it right back off and thought, hey, I'd rather podcast.
Seriously, that's
Yeah,
a lot of work.
I'm really interested in helping out, but I think on the one hand, to have a whole bunch of people is helpful, but then on the other hand, to have so many people that sometimes you're doing each other's work, you're overlapping in a way that's kind of uncomfortable and awkward and causing more problems. Too many cooks in the kitchen,
And
my
how much of a
personal
challenge-
goal is to do the tech stuff and try to make sure that that's okay, that the rooms have things like the computers can be set up, we have sound quality, that kind of stuff, make sure that we have
Pooh Bear
those
here, by the way. And let me tell
Oh.
you, there he is. So let me tell you about the sound people that were at the convention.
Oh,
All right. Who could have done a better job?
yeah.
All I
no.
know is I fixed a projector with dog hair and I will be proud of that shit till the day I die.
Okay, I'm curious. Was it
Yes.
on level? Was this
It
like
was
shove some
yes,
dog hair to
yes,
get it leveled
yes,
up?
exactly. That was
I
exactly
was
it.
gonna say, or is that like
the-
wiping the lens? What were you doing with it? you know?
The equipment is ancient.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So getting it to work with the newer computers was a little bit of a challenge.
Mm,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah. And they weren't very helpful. And then they're like because most of us are like women. All right. And the guy there was like, well, you know what? We're women. We don't know what we're talking about. And I'm like,
Oh, I
is like
love them. They're
so
adorable.
yeah,
Oh,
you know,
we're
that's
women and we don't
really
know
the
what to talk
wrong.
about.
Yeah, yeah, that's really the wrong
cute.
attitude.
Yeah, I
Oh,
want to.
yeah.
I want to make sure that stuff is. I want to spearhead that stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
along
please.
with helping with other things too.
I-
But I think that because I'm pretty comfortable with tech,
Yeah.
the making sure that we have like the make sure that everything has batteries and they're already loaded and tested before you
Yeah.
can bring them into the room. And
You're going to be geographically challenged. That is the difficult part
Yes.
about that location
Mm.
is
Yeah.
you're halfway across the country.
Yeah.
I am impressed and I would like to offer my services to help, but I'm smarter than that. It's
Well,
fine by him.
So
I bet
far, we've actually been doing really good with the multiple people because we've broken things into smaller committees.
Yeah.
And then we're having little breakout meetings within that group. And it's okay, you handle this, and we like keep it track of it on charts, who's talking to who's handling what, so that it stays organized. And
I'm going to make a suggestion.
knock wood, I'm being hopeful.
So please when you talk to the speakers, send them a little list, including that they need to make sure that they bring their cords so that they could hook up to a USB or what's the other one? USB and the HDMI.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because you can
don't-
never have enough cords.
You can never have enough cords.
That's
Yeah.
a fact.
And the adapters are really cheap and small. And I have an adapter that comes with me that just lives in my travel computer case for speaking for that sort of thing. And that's
Yeah.
got even the old screwy ones. It can even adapt that. Wow.
Old screwy ones.
I apologize to anyone watching on YouTube, watching me going with my little fingers.
This is the show for audio, Chris. Let's talk
This
about
is
what
the
Chris is
show
doing with
for-
her fingers.
Right?
Well-
I'm not tuning in Tokyo. That's not what I'm doing.
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, this is exciting because of all the shows. Wasn't there a Colorado show that was going to happen? I can't find it anywhere.
The Rocky Mountain, and that's supposed to be, I believe, June
I thought it was like
next year.
July.
or
It
it could
was
be
some-
One of
July.
those.
Okay. Well, if they're intending on having a show, they should probably make information a little easier to find because I searched all kinds of different names. Of course, I didn't search Rocky Mountain.
Yeah.
That might have been
It's,
helpful.
yes, it's in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, because that
okay.
is an easy place to get in and out of as far as airports are concerned.
Yeah,
but-
part of the
yeah.
reason I'm going to be driving out there is that Idaho Falls is not easy to get into.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's really difficult.
It is. So it's at least, even from Seattle, it's at least one layover. All right. So my philosophy is if I'm already driving to get to the airport and then I have to go fly and then I have to sit in another airport for I don't know how long
Yeah.
and then fly out to Idaho Springs and then have to get a rental car. I'm just going to drive.
Hey, you don't really need a rental car, though, if you're
Well,
staying on
but to get
site.
to the airport, to the
It's a
site.
5-minute Uber.
Oh,
It's a
not too bad.
5-minute Uber. It's
Good
so
to know.
close to it's so close to the airport. It's like disgustingly close.
I haven't been yet, so
Okay. Yeah.
It's,
So
that's going to be a big adventure.
Oh, it's beautiful. It is beautiful out there.
Well,
though.
that might be the place for all of us to meet up.
Yes,
Because we've been
yes, I could
talking
meet
about
Susie
that,
in
so-
person.
Yeah.
I finally got
Although-
to meet Mary in person. That was awesome.
Although if we all are meeting in person, we need to like throw in an extra day to just hang out together. because
There you
there's
go.
never enough time. I
There
never
really
get
isn't.
enough time to spend with my
Yeah.
newest and bestest friends, especially my podcaster friends. Those are the
I know,
best
podcaster
quality
friends.
Yes, I want to hang out
Because-
with them.
Because we can talk about stuff people don't get. Anyway, wait, we're digressing. We're
Yes,
digressing.
well, let's take a
Really?
moment and hear from our sponsor, and then we'll come back with our actual topic of discussion. How's that?
Oh.
Yes.
Except I remembered something
What?
that did happen today. That was really.
Well,
that
you
was
can tell
really-
me when we come back from the break. Oh, well, here
Oh,
we
we're
are
back.
back from the break. And guess what? Chris remembered something to tell us. So tell us, Chris.
Okay,
And I
so
have a
this
story
is
later too.
this
Oh,
is
cool.
Chrissy heard this one. It's simultaneously funny and not funny.
Uh-oh.
It's one of those things that's funny, but I could not laugh at it. So, as you know, I have new puppy in the house,
Yes.
and 8-month-old puppy was nosing at the garbage, and hubby did the dad voice at him, and he does the big angry no, and the dog was like, and I'm like, okay, no garbage, and like ran off. And then he's like, see, there you go, and wanted him to come back, and the dog was like, oh, fuck no. Yeah. And I did the bounce at him, and he ran over to me and like leaned against my leg and was like looking at Cubby. And he does love my husband, but he just got the big scary dad voice. So he was a little like, I don't know about this shit, man. I was just sniffing at some delicious trash. So I could see my husband wanted to have him come back and say, okay, that was then, this is now. I still love you, because he does love him very much. So I said, do the puppy play bounce. And he's like, what? And I was in my kitchen, which is kind of like a little L off the rest. So the puppy couldn't see what I was doing. So I said like this, and I didn't actually get down. I said, when puppies go like this and they put their arms down and their ass goes up in the air, that's the play maneuver that will signal him to come over and play with you. So he did it. And 43 pounds of fur flew directly at him with all of his speed and strength, because it worked. He went, oh, daddy still loves me and wants to play. And he punched him directly in the mouth.
Oh.
Directly. And I don't know if it was his paw that got him or a head. And I was just like,
Oh, daddy needs to learn to block.
right. And I was like, oh, because I could tell he was in pain. So I couldn't laugh, because like his mouth was bleeding, and like he heard, I was like, do we need to go to the dentist? Do you want some ice, honey? What can I do for you?
Oh
Oh, yeah, it's hard. That's one of those
He
things
was-
you can't laugh because it's your partner. And yet,
Yes.
we
And it
deal
would
with this
legit
stuff.
hurt. Right. And it legit. And I'm like, oh, precious.
No. Oh,
Oh,
dear.
no. Well, and I shared with her a story when we first got one of my guys. We got him at 7 months old, and we were telling everybody like, he's a super friendly pup. On over and meet him, guys. Wear a cup. The puppy jumps at just the right height. Just yourself, just for sports.
See, and now I would not have any problem laughing at my husband. So
Oh.
back years ago, my kids are little, my mother-in-law,
Oh, yeah.
my mother-in-law always waxed the floor, always waxed the floor. All right. She also did ironing too. And so she was coming up, and my husband was bitching and moaning about how his mother waxes the floor. And I got sick of hearing it. So I waxed the floor. Okay. And the first thing he does is he comes in and whoosh, boom.
Oh, no.
I can see this. The comedy value is great.
Yeah.
Seriously. I was like, you know what? I will wax this floor as often as you want me to. If this is the result of it. All right.
Oh,
So-
That I might have laughed at. That I might have laughed at.
Yeah.
I did that at a client's house, though. I did
Oops.
that at a client's house because I was using, it might have been Flash, but I was using some like spray on conditioner, some spray stuff. And one of the kids, he was a young tween, whatever, not like no babies got injured in the making of this story. And he comes flying around the corner in his socks and he just goes whoop, ass over tea kettle. Just, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
That is
no.
totally a hazard, big time hazard.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the younger they are, the more bendy they are.
Oh yeah, they bounce.
They bounce.
It's
You know?
true.
It's not like us. We doing it. We land on our butt. Yeah, we ain't getting up.
I'm lucky I fall pretty good. It's one of those
Um,
skills I've retained.
Yeah, I was gonna say I used to do we used to do stage combat and stuff, and the first thing you learn is how to fall and do your falls. So you're falling on the diagonal from like
Mhm.
left hip to right shoulder and how to fall. Spent an absurd amount of time learning how to fall before we were able to do like swords and stuff.
20 years of gymnastics, a lot of falling. I was actually, a lot of falling. But even
20 years
more
of gymnastics. That's neat.
yeah,
Wow.
I know. I was like, now where can I go to continue gymnastics? Well, there's nowhere as
Yeah.
an adult really after
No?
college is done.
Aw.
There's very well. Now there's like circus stuff. We have circus places here.
You gonna
can-
join the circus?
I would love to join the circus.
I could 100% see you running away and joining the circus.
yes. I'd be
Only if they take her
gone.
horse. They got to take her horse and her bird.
Yes. Well, I could do like vaulting. I could be a vaulter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the two things gymnastics taught me, number one was how to fall pretty much no matter where, like drop out of the sky, off the balance beam, bounce off of something. I'm pretty good that way. The other thing is I can take criticism, and that is a skill. I didn't know I could because I had gone X amount of years between gymnastics and
Mhm.
then when I did a little competing, but I was so concerned about the review of my competition dog and my competition grooming and all the certification and stuff. But it turns out that stuff is a piece of cake because gymnastics is all about criticism, correction. So I thank gymnastics for that. I don't thank it for a lot of anything else because my bones are all wrecked. But for those two things, it was really a gem. All right. Hey, one more break and then we'll really get to our first topic.
Sure, we will.
Or our only topic for that matter. Trying tips and tricks and suggestions. Everybody here has slightly different conditions where they work, right? We've got,
Mhm.
well, we would have had Barbara Bird in her shop, but we don't. But we've got Chrissy who grooms at a school and also grooms house call. And then we've got Chris who is exclusively house call. And then there's Mary, who is retired grooming van, and me, who is an actively grooming in a trailer. So each
Yep.
one of
I
us
don't groom
have,
at the school very often anymore, but
well,
but
you take enough pictures
did
there
for a long time.
occasionally. Yeah. And I think that all of us have probably spent a little time in a shop. Did you spend
Yeah.
time in a shop, Chris?
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of
So-
time. in
Oh yeah.
shops.
Oh yeah.
Lots of time
Yeah.
in shops.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just a moment. What are you doing?
Do, 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 do,
Intermission
do,
music.
do, do, do,
There we go. We got a
do,
bird.
do,
Yep,
do,
hang
do,
on.
do. Well, we had to have
Got
a
a bird.
bird. We were scheduled to
Just
have a
second. I'll
bird.
be right back. Talk amongst
This is just
yourselves.
isn't the bird. This is just for our YouTube listeners.
Yeah,
You
we
get
needed
to
a
see
bird.
me.
Ready?
Do the Elaine dance.
Stay here.
Wasn't that thumbs?
Oh yes. Yes, it was thumbs.
How can we forget?
I don't know. I'm shocked they never did a bit where she poked somebody in the eye with the thumbs because that would have worked. Okay.
For a bird that can communicate with words, he is not very good at letting me know what it is exactly he wants. I think he's gonna go stand on the birds, on the cat for a minute. Anyway, what does everybody use for a dryer these days? Like I'm using a K9 too.
I still have my canine too.
Chris?
I have go for it.
Oh, No, I have a longer answer. So go ahead.
Oh,
You,
Chrissy.
you go first,
Oh.
Chrissy.
I for my house call, I have a Chris Christensen Cool Pup. I really
Those are
like having
nice.
the smaller lightweight dryer
Mhm.
that because the filter and the hose are on the same side, I don't even have to take it out of my case.
Wow.
Right.
That is
And I
slick.
really like my dryer brush. I kind of dig a dryer brush. I might pick up one of the Dews dryers.
And
I
that's
like
that little
those.
square one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I really like those. I might pick one up. I don't know. But
What if,
I just picked one of those up. I don't use it often, but I like that I have it when I need it. You know what I mean? And I got the one that you can wear around your waist as a holster.
Oh my goodness, that's perfect.
It's got a holster with the bendy arm. So I don't even have to take up counter space because depending on where I am and balanced in someone's house, there's not a lot of counter space.
and you can
So
look
I
like a
ca-
super villain.
I do look like Groomer Ock.
Well, and she's got the holster with the scissors on one side. She's
Yeah,
got the
right?
holster with the dryer
Yes.
on the other. Man,
Are you
you're
a super villain
badass.
or a superhero?
That depends on who you ask. I'm
So-
sure I'm someone's supervillain.
It's
But that's-
dryer woman.
Dryer woman, yes. Scissor
Uh,
woman, really, but yeah.
Is it woman really? But that's not my main dryer. My main dryer is something that they don't make anymore, Curtis.
Oh.
Because
Oh.
it's basically a Hanvey Gold that they were able to convert to be both a dryer and a clipper vac, or a
I
dryer and
remember
a
that.
vac system.
I-
Which is totally perfect for house call, but where they got the canister from was discontinued. So that's why they don't have the Hanvey Gold isn't the same. So if you ever see a used Hanvey Gold dryer for sale, buy it.
I'm going to
Because then-
take this moment to mention
Uh-huh.
if your dryer breaks, repair it.
Oh God. Yes,
Everything
please.
about, unless you're buying Chinese or disposable dryers are all repairable. All of the parts are easily accessible except for the K92 second motor. But if you get a K93, you can get right at that motor. It's all replaceable by us. We can do it ourselves. So don't just park it in the cupboard or in the back drying area and leave it and buy a new one. Get this stuff repaired. There's value in it.
Yeah.
And
I have
you
a
don't-
double K that I've had for 22 years.
Oh yeah.
It's not the one that I
I-
bring with me every day because I like the Cool Pup better for carrying around. You know, for drying small dogs, it doesn't make sense to carry the bigger one, but it's still running. It's still great.
Can we have a moment of silence for my Metro dryer that was lost in the flood because it was in my garage?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
you can get your dryers repaired if they've been soaking in water for hours. Meh, I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't even try that one. But and you don't always have to send it off. A lot of mobile sharpeners do dryer repairs. And if there is a vacuum repair shop near you,
You have to be somewhat careful with them because occasionally they think they know what they're doing and they get in there and it's a little over their head. And then they don't tell you that they've jury rigged your motor
Oh.
wires. There's on the K92,
Oh.
there's two tiny wires that break. And if they break, they are difficult to replace. It's a real bitch, if excuse my language, but they will then fake solder or wire or tape those back together and not tell you. And then you get your dryer back and like 2 weeks later after you've moved it around, it doesn't work.
well, that's unfortunate.
That's
Yeah.
not good.
No, not good.
I took my dryer to a computer repair shop once to get it fixed.
Well, it's all wires.
I knew I could see the problem. A solder came loose. I
Yes.
just needed
Oh,
someone to
there you go.
solder wire A to wire B. And I figured I could pay someone for cheaper than I could buy a soldering kit and then learn the skill at Home Depot.
Yes, it's very true.
Yeah.
Although soldering's pretty easy. It's kind of like
I-
gluing.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Soldering's not too hard, but yeah, buying new tools to fix a tool sounds, kind of counterproductive sometimes.
I am
Yes.
totally the person
Yeah.
who would do that though. I'm totally the person. But so I love my combination dryer vac system or dryer hair vac from Hanby, and we need to find similar canisters somewhere again so they can make that product because I love it so much.
And it was so useful to have both in just one box. I mean, it just made perfect sense.
Yeah.
So what are some of the unique conditions you guys face in house call grooming that we don't? Like you're in people's bathrooms and kitchens and garages and the hair flies.
So I groom small dogs. So I don't have anybody that I kneel on the floor next to bathtubs. They're all
Mhm.
really small. So they fit in the kitchen sink or a laundry room sink. And that might be, kind of a mid-size, like mini doodle or something, but that's about as big as I go. I like working in the kitchen or a laundry room. Laundry rooms are
Yeah.
my favorite. I don't like working in bathrooms though. And I gotta say, maybe it's just me being a weirdo, but the idea of my dryer like blowing around whatever is in someone's bathroom, like,
It's
right? Like the kitchen, that's not as big deal. But I also don't like if someone's kitchen is really really nasty, I'm like, this might not work out for us,
You know what I hated about bathrooms and house call? The bathtub next to the toilet. And you have to get next to the floor.
when
And
it's
somebody's
right next to the when it's I don't want to touch anyone like
Mhm.
using someone else's toilet maybe
right.
if you gotta go, but I don't want any other part of my body to touch a toilet.
My
Yep.
husband has told
Yep.
me really scary stories about men's bathrooms. And so now I live with a neat freak. So when I go into the bathroom and I have to kneel next to somebody's toilet, I'm like dry heaving the whole time.
Yeah. Like, nah.
So do you
I
do-
much prefer kitchens.
Yeah.
But so drying in somebody's kitchen, there are some special concerns. Like you don't want your dryer to go up toward anything near the refrigerator and like blow every piece of bric-a-brac and magnet off the front of their fridge.
That has and
That-
will happen.
that
Yes.
I did once have my dryer catch the edge of a decorative plate and it smashed on the floor and I'm just about dying. And she's like, I bought it at a Christmas tree shop. It was like $3. It's not a family heirloom. You're fine. You're fine. It's okay. I'm like, oh my God, I broke things precious. It's like, nope, it's fine. But yeah, you have to be a little bit more careful. And if you're doing like a D-shed or something, I like using like a screen, one of the bug
Those
screens that they
mosquito
use for
nettings.
mosquito netting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I like putting that over my table. Some dogs find that really kind of scary though. So I'll
Yeah.
often end up doing a lot of brushing while they're wet to try to get most of the shedding out when they're wet after the bath with conditioner in, because that's the other concern. Like every once in a while I'm in a shop and I'm like, I can be messy. This is great. I'm going to be messy and just get it done the right way. But you do have to work around making sure that you're not making their house like a crazy disaster.
Do you use, I use a handheld dryer a lot. So I'm not just for finishing, sometimes for the whole dang thing, because it's just sometimes easier to manage that when I'm in somebody's house for sure. I have a tendency to overspray everything with the, with Best Shot, the Max mostly, and then I get a lot of slippery stuff. So I'm dangerous in somebody's house. It's much better to contain me in my own trailer.
So speaking of two of the sponsors of the Groompod, what I like to do is I like to get the quick dry spray from show season and then put maybe a teaspoon or less of the Max in the bottle and then shake it a little bit every time I use it it's fantastic.
That gets a ding. Yeah, you get
Creating your own little witch's brew.
Oh, it's
nice.
Oh, I do concoctions with the quick dry. It's fantastic.
Speaking of things like quick dry, that really does contribute to the drying, reducing drying time. Spit it out, Susie. Oh my God. Yes, those silicone products really do help the dogs dry faster. And even if it's the shampoo that you're using when you're drying, and everybody knows that drying time is money for us. It sucks up. Like, for instance, 2 days ago, I was at a house doing a Havanese, and the guy's a boater and normally understands shore power cords. And usually I'm in a 20 amp shore power plug where he puts the cord in that he brings out to me. Yesterday or day before, I guess it was, I think he put me in a 15 amp plug, but it was one of those that doesn't pop the circuit. It just doesn't give you any heat out of your dryers. They just never get warm enough and blow fast enough. So I'm drying this dog and drying the dog, and I'm thinking, why is it taking me? And I feel it, and it's like lukewarm blowing air. And so finally I had to go out there and unplug and start the generator, and I blew the dog. I wasted like 20 minutes not drying that dog. But kill myself for that one. Yeah. So using something like an absorber to get as much.
I was just going to say that I get them to the point where they're damp. I've been using absorbers since the late 90s. Somebody mentioned them on the Groomers Lounge a bazillion years ago.
I remember the Groomers Lounge.
Now we're dating
I've been using
ourselves.
them, and I mean, I remember which job I was at. That was definitely like mid to late 90s. But I just get them to the point where they're damp before I even bother with the dryer. You know, save some time.
Get them as damp as possible, then spray them with the quick dry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've really changed my mind on the absorbers. I first tried them when they were in one big, very large piece, and my crappy hands, I don't know if you guys can see what my hands, yeah, that's what I figured out. My hands are all weird and I can't really wrench stuff very easily. Then I cut them in half, and I was like, holy cow, this is easy compared to doing the whole thing. And I've never looked back. I pretty much use them exclusively. The other thing I always do is I put a towel on my table.
Yep.
I actually use a moisture magnet. And I stand the dog on it, because as well as Mary would know if she was still grooming here, the humidity is a nightmare. And I don't have a dehumidifier, and all I can do is open the fan vent. I don't have a fan in my vent, so I just open the vent and I hope that the air goes out. But basically I blow all the molecules around in my 8x10 trailer, and then I stop and it all settles right back down on the dog. And I'm like, I swear this dog was dry, but now it doesn't feel dry.
But you know what I would do in the tub? So I would dry most of the dogs in the tub. All right. So against the back wall of the tub, I also hung towels there.
I don't have a tub.
Pushes it up against.
Yeah.
Now, see,
I have a wall.
So you hang a towel on the wall behind, so that the dryer sprays it onto that towel.
On what?
On the wall.
With what?
A towel.
Command strips and hooks.
They pull right off. It's wet. Everything is wet. It's constant. It's like, have you ever been in a sauna and the walls drip? That's what winter is like here in the Northwest. And in the trailer, the walls condense and stuff just drips down. So I have a rhino lined formed bathtub, and I do almost dry all of my dogs there. But on my table, I have a table divider. So I take a moisture magnet and I flip it over the table divider and I dry there. And that's the closest I can come to that solution.
I have an answer for you, Susie. Unsolicited product plug. You take 2 of the Alpha Pet suction cup thingies with the big lever, and they have a big hook in it to hook. So you put 2 of the, they don't stick. Is it textured?
It's rhino liner.
Rhino liner. Yeah.
And it's bumpy.
Oh, son of a motherless
goat.
There's
nothing to hang on my bathtub. I can only hang things on my table. And since I do keep my table divider up 90% of the time, I have a little bit of an area where I can hang something there. But so that's what I do. You know, that's the best I can do. And it's a challenge. And I basically look at when June comes as a raise, because all of my dogs take me 20 minutes less to dry on average. Yeah. And then the big dogs are awful.
Does your trailer have like a heater or air conditioning? Because that can both
Nope.
either of those
Nope.
can reduce moisture.
What?
I have a
Yeah.
tiny space heater that I can't run when I'm running anything else. So like I warm the space up, then I turn that off and I turn the clipper back on and I do my clipping and then I turn that off and I turn the heater back on for a little bit while I do some brushing and then I turn that off and I turn the water on and the sump pump and I wash my dogs and then I turn that off and then I turn the dryer on and I heat the space with the dryer.
So
love
basically, you
house
need
calls.
a Hanvy.
I love house calls.
Basically, you need a Hanvy van,
Well,
is what you're saying.
what I think what would be the best is
Mhm.
a fantastic fan vent to draw the air out,
Well,
but I don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
wiring there. So that's the challenge. They've
Mm.
Can
disconnected
you
all
get a
that
battery
wiring.
operated one though?
I have looked at that and possibly,
Mhm.
possibly that will be a solution for me. But in the bigger picture, I don't do heavy coated dogs. I fired all my doodles. So I'm not doing anything that really I'm struggling with too much. Mostly it's just little fluffy dogs that sit on people's laps. I survive, but it is, it is a shocker when a doodle takes me 3 hours because an hour and a half of it is drying time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's all about my scheduler,
And-
making sure my scheduler knows what I can do and what I can't do. Yeah,
Uh-huh. And do you have to have long, serious talks with your scheduler
constantly.
and
Absolutely.
and go, what the hell were you thinking? And you're like,
I
I don't
did.
know.
I did 3 Pomskis, 2 cats, and then 2 Shih Tzus in one day. I thought I was never going to walk again. I just was just, and it was the day after I hurt my back. That was a brutal
Aw.
day. I was cussing at myself through that entire day. I'm like, I can't
Okay,
believe
I'll beat that one. I scheduled myself 6 golden retrievers in the same day.
Oh, shoot me.
Different houses, all different houses, like
All
traveling
different
in between?
houses.
Oh, that's terrible.
Because they're golden retrievers. Oh, a golden retriever. I love golden retrievers.
Easy. Yeah.
Okay, this one might match it, but 6 Goldens is still a little bit. 2 Black Russian Terriers on the same day. Different houses. And one of them is old and I had to do on the floor.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough.
I mean, I now have one day that I also do 2 Black Russian Terriers, but at least they're not only the same house, but the owner put in his garage a professional grooming tub.
I love people like that.
And he just got a hydraulic table.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I have a lot who rewire their electrical so that I can get to a 20 amp plug easier.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that have done that over the years. So Chrissy,
Wow.
question for you.
Mm.
Difficult dogs, once again, can't speak. Dogs that have a difficult time with the dryer. What are some of the tips for that?
So there are a lot of things that I think we tend to think that it's always the sound, but sometimes it's not the sound. That you really kind of have to first ask why. Why are they having a hard time with the dryer? So if it's a dog I don't know, I will practice turning on the dryer sound without using the dryer on them, just to see if the sound alone is something that bothers them. But, at some point, you're going to end up with a dog that's really nervous about the dryer. I like happy hoodies. If a
too,
dog
yeah.
likes them, some dogs don't, but then if they don't like it, I can wrap a towel kind of around their head with a clip and kind of have a similar feel. I used to do cotton in the ears, but then I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning going,
That's
so
me.
just for me, I can't do it anymore.
Me either. I don't risk it. You know what I found recently, after class, I've had a few dogs that are pretty reactive with the dryer. And I found that if I don't do this, they're way better. And by the way, if those of you listening, I am flailing my right hand back and
She's
forth.
doing the
across-
swishy, swishy, swishy.
The
I
swishy
am.
dryer motion.
I'm doing
That's how we
open the
dry.
coat to get all to blow the water out. Some
Yeah.
dogs really, really hate that. And I
Yeah.
find if I stop and I take I don't use nozzles very often. I mostly just use the open cuff. And if I just start on the foot and work very slowly without moving it, the dogs tolerate it so much better. Maybe not perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe there's always a dog that's just can't handle it at all. Then I use the handheld dryer. That usually works, or sack it out with towels. But
Yeah.
that was one thing that I
Well,
picked up because of the why. Why is
because of the
this dog
why.
reacting?
Yeah. And one of the things I ask groomers to do is have the dryer near your head. Right? I'm not asking you to do it on your own ear. We all know that can cause ear damage. Have it near your head, and then put your hand in the high velocity dryer and go swishy, 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 because you will hear the sound difference is so different.
It's 30
That-
decibels difference.
Yeah, it's the sound spikes are entirely different. And I think that a lot of the time that's what dogs are responding to. But you really have to ask why. And I think that sometimes it's just a matter of it feels really funny, because dogs that are really worried about dryers, you would think they would have the same problem with a Clipper vac, and they don't.
Yeah, it's
No.
interesting.
Which is kind of interesting, right? I think
Yep.
it has more to do with the feel. But can I say, while we're talking about drying, I'm on a one-woman mission to get us to stop calling them dryer seizures.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
Go for it.
Can
Expound on that, my dear. Say your
I
piece.
get where the term came from, that sometimes you're drying a dog and that dog has like screams, panics, loses their bowels, whatever it is, but a seizure is something very different. Now that could be seizure activity, but for us as groomers, we need to just observe what happened and talk to the vet about what we saw. Because if not, owners hear he had a seizure at the groomer.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, they're going down this medical path that might not be necessary at all.
Okay.
When
So
maybe that dog panicked.
I'm going to jump in here. Okay.
Yeah.
So a true seizure is, right? Lights are on, nobody's home. So that dog is barking, peeing, and pooping and cannot focus on you, and you cannot get their attention.
Mm.
That's a seizure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's different. And that can be in what medically is referred to an environmentally induced seizure. Something in
Could
the
be.
environment caused them to have a seizure.
Yeah.
It's different from a panic attack. A panic attack, the
Mhm.
pet still can focus on you. So that is where the difference lies.
Yeah, often a panic
Absolutely.
attack, you can actually
Absolutely.
calm the dog back
Yes.
down, whereas
Yeah.
a seizure,
Yeah.
nobody's home.
Yeah.
And a seizure is a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Panic attack is a diagnosis that we should kind of step back from and go, this is what I observed. Please tell your vet. And we stopped, like either of those things I would stop, but yeah, every time I hear dryer seizure, I'm like, oh, actually, can we stop using that term? Because I just think it brings an owner to a vet saying my dog had a seizure at the groomer, when maybe that is not what the dog had.
Yeah, they have to differentiate. Again,
Yeah.
that's where you write down what you see
Mm.
and then let the doctor make that, determination.
Write
Right?
it down.
Yeah.
Write it down what you saw. If they're not focusing on you, all right.
Mhm.
All right. Like I said, that whole 1,000-yard stare, lights are on, nobody's home. That is a seizure. They need to, and it may not be even something that needs veterinarian care. What it means is she don't dry the dog.
Don't dry the dog with a high velocity dryer. And
Exactly.
And I understand and agree, but it takes me time to change. So, Chrissy, if you hear me use the phrase dryer seizure, know that it is just my old lady dinosaur brain adapting. I will fucking get there. I know I will. I have faith in me. However, I have had previously been on a crusade to have vets recognize that this is a thing, that this is something that does happen. And so that's part of the reason it's taking me so long to switch. Like,
Sure.
because a lot of the times I see it when they're not there, and it takes them a while to calm down, and they're walking around going, I, like walking into things.
Yeah.
And a seizure has stages too. Okay. So a seizure just doesn't come on like that. There are stages to it. Okay. There's the aura in which something is happening. All right. You know, there's a little bit of a difference going on with the pet.
The change in the facial in the eyes and stuff like that happens before. You can just see it coming.
You could see it coming, the
Mhm.
seizure, and then it's the post-ictal phase in which they're not the same. A seizure is something really seriously. And so the only thing that I have questioned with that is I don't think we should totally get rid of the word seizure, because this does happen. And there has to be a differentiation between this is a panic attack and this is a seizure. And a seizure is fairly important to note that it was an actual seizure. Okay. Because there's the post-ictal phase afterward, and which the pet is not the same. It's called
And they're
post-
exhausted.
They're exhausted,
Absolutely
their temperature-
exhausted.
Their temperature can rise, and it can
Mhm.
rise to a very dangerous point, especially if this pet is diabetic to start off with, can throw them into a ketone acidosis. All right. So this pet can go into heat stroke. It can go into ketone acidosis. And that,
One of my customers, her dog had a seizure at one point that caused a stroke.
yes.
Yeah, that can
Yeah.
happen.
Yep.
Okay. And guys, I think we are, for listeners, I think we're having a little bit of a historic moment, because we're determining stuff that I feel like will stick in the industry, because I see semi-conflicting views, but I see where we're going to meet in the middle. Because Chrissy, you're saying stop using the phrase, not because it doesn't happen and that it sometimes isn't seizures, but because calling it that is a diagnosis.
Because
Right.
I find that the term gets thrown around too casually, and really we need to think about what exactly did we see.
I like to
You
call
know?
it a dryer
Yeah.
reaction. It's
So,
a
but
dryer
that-
reaction. And
But
if that's where
that's where
it takes us.
education comes in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you're throwing around the term dryer seizure, and it's not a dryer seizure, then you're
Mhm.
using the term incorrectly. And as professionals, we should know correct terminology. Again, not making the diagnosis. That's what a piece of
Mhm.
paper and pen is for.
But
Right.
even if we know and we see all these phases and we know we're using it correctly, isn't not still a diagnosis.
It's still
Yeah.
I would never diagnose a pet.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I
as
would say a
professional-
dog had a seizure and maybe say during drying. But I just think that the
But isn't
dryer
even calling it a
thing-
seizure versus a panic attack, isn't that even any kind of seizure? Isn't that a diagnosis?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but
uh,
we still as professionals need
Yeah.
to know what the terms are, what it is
Mhm.
they mean.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If
once
nothing
it-
else, but for the communication with the vet,
yes.
that we're going to send in a note with that owner to
Right.
have the dog
Yep.
checked out.
And the
or
other thing
whatever.
with the post-ictal phase is that this is a pet that's not the same. They could have behavioral issues. All right.
Mhm.
I had a client that had to put their golden down because their dog was having more frequent seizures, and then afterward became Cujo afterwards. So, I mean, you have to be aware that there's behavioral changes. When
Yep.
Spirit would have a seizure, his post-ictal phase was that he would just walk in circles for like an hour.
Mm.
Just walk in circles until literally he was exhausted and couldn't walk anymore.
The dog
And
I
some
share,
dogs
she
and
just
some
sits
dogs
there and
wake up
shakes.
very aggressive.
Yeah.
What was that?
Sometimes
As-
some dogs wake up very aggressive.
Exactly.
Very
As a-
aggressive. They can be very dangerous for us.
As a matter of fact, when we're removing a dog that's having a reaction from our table, during the reaction, you need to be aware that they can snap at you
Yeah.
because they are not functioning.
Yeah.
They
See,
are
now, my-
panicked
But I think,
or-
But I think the term seizure, I'm just leery about using it, but then I don't say ear infection,
Yeah, I don't say
right?
you're
I
just
say
here.
redness, swelling, discharge. Yeah, I'll take a picture. Like I just describe what I see. But
I generally go,
but-
something going on in the ear. There's something going on here rather than naming it exactly. You have good point.
yeah, so I don't know. I just feel that while we might recognize that, like, wow, this dog had a seizure, but then also, is that diagnosing? I think it is. I
Mhm,
think it's pushing it too far, But then again, like I said, I don't say ear infection. So
It's food
But-
for thought.
But it can get frustrating. Like I am not advocating diagnosing. I am empathizing with groomers who have been doing this a long time and 100% know that it's a fucking ear infection.
Yeah. But
But
so,
we
but
can't
what an
say
owner
that.
does, back to my vet tech days, like
Mhm.
what an owner does is they're like, oh, well, the groomer said his ear was infected. So we rummaged through a drawer full of old medication and gave him
Oh,
the
yeah.
ear med.
Yep.
Like, and then they come in, they're like, it's not working. It's like, well, I've had so many customers go,
was
wait, there are more
expired.
things that can happen to an ear?
There,
There are multiple ear problems. Like, remember, our owners don't know this stuff.
it could be
Not that they're
mites.
not really smart people, but if you didn't learn anything about animals in school, you probably don't know. I've had owners who really just had no idea there are 3 or 4
Yeah.
things that could happen to an ear. I'm like, oh, more than that,
But I think a lot of it is this miscommunication between groomers and veterinarians.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge problem because we see pets way more often than a vet does. And a lot of times we're the ones sending the pet to the vet because of something that's going on. All right.
Mhm.
So I think there has to be more of an open dialogue on what they feel we can say and what we can't say. Okay.
Oh, so it gets us
Yeah.
respect when we use correct terms with the
Yeah.
vets, as long as we don't
That is true.
misuse them.
Yeah. But I've also had vets be really impressed that I wrote down exactly what I saw.
They're always impressed if you write it down. They're
Yeah.
always impressed with you.
Yeah. I write down exactly
send
what
it
I
written
saw,
down.
my observations, dog lost consciousness, laid on the floor, flailed for 2 minutes, woke up slowly, wobbly, 1,000, miles.
Are you
stare,
watching that My Favorite
and
Groomer
writing
again?
those things?
Oh.
Jeez.
Sorry, I could resist that one.
She who shall not be named.
Yes.
Oh no.
No, we're not
Um,
watching.
But even just writing down like all of those things, and really giving actual data, and
Now, the only time I did not do that is only because I knew my owner, right? So woman comes in, she had an ancient schnauzer and there was a sebaceous cyst on the back. And it looked like it was about to pop.
Ooh, get it. No, sorry.
Right? I know.
So I groom around it and I go to her and I'm really, really specific on this. Call your vet, tell him the groomer said you need to go over there. So I know exactly how the conversation went. The groomer called in a panic. She called the vet. Oh my God, the groomer said, I got to bring the dog over to you right now. So now, the vet thinks there's a cut or I did something, right?
Mm.
So the vet calls me up later that day to tell me how this whole thing transpired. So she gets there, she puts the dog up on the table and the vet's looking at the dog going, oh, what's wrong with the dog? And as he said that, it popped.
For the
And she-
Kano projects.
And she passed out, which is, I knew exactly what would happen if that popped on her. Okay. So he calls me up later and she was
Bring your dog to the vet. Oh, and put on this helmet.
Yeah, these goggles.
Protect your head.
So he calls me later to tell, to relate this whole story to him. And I was going out to Southbury because she moved there to this senior area. And I had 2 clients in there and I had learned really quickly to be out of there before 10 o'clock, because at 10 o'clock was what I like to refer to as the senior march, in which everybody came out and started walking down the street and then they'd be knocking on my van door, and I needed to be out of there before that happened. So he calls me up and says, I'm going to recommend you to everyone. I go, if you like me, you will not recommend me to a single person.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, wow.
I had that happen once and I need to get props. Okay. For this.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Props
So
are
again,
always
it's-
good
it's
for
straight to
audio.
the people who are watching.
I know.
on YouTube.
They're
So she has a
supposedly,
stuffed dog.
supposedly this is going up on YouTube. So this is for the YouTube. So I had a cyst situation, and normally I really, really, really would want to pop it, but like the kids were right there. They were like teenage girls. So I pointed it out and I said, do you see this? Yeah, there's this bump there. I said, that really looks to me like a sebaceous cyst. I'm not trying to diagnose, but if it pops and looks really nasty and bloody, don't be alarmed. Like, don't be alarmed. You can feel free
Okay.
to take it to the vet, but it's not as serious. And as I literally put my finger on it to show them, and it popped. And while they didn't pass out, it was only just. I mean, I literally, boop, I just laid my finger on it. And
Well, that's exactly when I was grooming the Schnauzer. It looked like it was going to pop. I'm just going to make sure no water touches the area. The dryer's not going to touch the area. I'm not going to get there with the clippers. Nothing was going to touch a circle around that area.
I
Oh
love
my
a good
God.
cyst. God.
no.
Don't we have
Okay,
a
hey,
bizarre
hey,
job?
Chris,
We
Yeah.
do.
hold on. This is for Chris.
More visuals.
More visual.
Oh, look
Barkley
at that.
Honors Award
Uh,
framed.
Got it
yeah,
framed.
that's contribution to the industry. She got that one framed.
Got it
So
framed. I
awesome.
just got to get up on my
So
wall.
deserved.
That's a big
Now,
one.
now,
I get
Now-
to hang out with the bigwigs.
Now,
Susie-
wait a second. When I just lost power of speech. I just lost power of speech. So hold on to that thought, and we're going to have a word from our sponsors while I figure out what happened to my brain. My brain went out my ear.
I know what she's gonna say. So you can see in the back here, if you're watching, I've got all of my posters up on the wall there.
Uh-huh.
So we get, when we're
Mhm.
nominated, we get these nice little posters. Okay.
They're pretty
So-
awesome.
They are very, very awesome.
Yeah.
And so I got mine. I got this one came in its own package. And then I got another package, right? And it contained 3 posters. Because I was nominated for 2 for the podcast, 1 for women petpreneurs, and the other one for traveling groomers. And they sent me 1 of each. They're the same exact poster. Okay.
Mhm.
Aren't
Plus
you
one.
lucky?
plus the 1 for website of the year. All right. So Chris, how many posters did you get for Traveling Groomers podcast?
That would be 0, Mary.
That's
That,
Oh,
that
because
would
no.
be 0.
And how many posters and or medals does Barbara get? She has 0. They're all here. But
Oh.
hang on.
Oh, Miss, I know what's going to happen now. Miss Actual Barkley Award winner is going to pull out her medal.
Here she
Yeah.
comes.
Here's mine, my stack. I am sending them all to Barbara. I'm going to open up the one we got this year and
Oh,
then
that is
tack all
that-
of these in there and
Oh,
send them
good.
to her. So she has them, because all I really care about is the medal, and I'm not sending that. She can have the posters. I'm keeping the medal.
There you go. There you go.
We actually told, and I say we, and I mean Mary, actually told Todd that if the traveling groomers won, we would pay him to have a second one made up, because we each want one of those sons of bitches. If we could win it legit, but we'll pay for the
yeah,
extra
because
one.
there might be some tugging up at the podium. Mine.
might be some
Each
there would
get half.
yes, there would 100% have been some tugging at the podium.
Since we're all here,
Uh-huh.
I would like to mention that I would really appreciate the podcast being separated out into their own award without including the video stuff, because I believe we have enough podcasts in the industry to rank our own item.
There's
instead
a
of being
lot
lumped
now,
with it,
yeah.
because every
Yeah.
single time we get lumped with the videos, the video people win. And it's just the nature of the beast. They do 20-minute videos. They're short, they're bite-sized. We do content every single week. We produce it, we put it out there, and it's a
We edit it.
completely different kind of
Some
a
of us
thing.
edit it, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Some
Even
of
if we
us
don't
edit.
edit it, it's still, it's a different
it
type
is.
of thing.
It is.
And the fact that we
Educational
keep-
content is different than
Yep.
the fun reels and
Yes.
stuff like that, or
they're
like
great.
Facebook groups,
Yes.
and like that. I think that it gets there
Look,
need to be more categories.
all
We're getting
I'm saying is
lost.
3 out of 4 podcasters on this particular show.
Oh,
edit.
here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Yeah.
There it is. Yep, there it is.
That happened. That happened. That went
Who
there.
here runs a solo show? Oh,
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
You do too.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I've done a few. I could do it. I just choose
Hey.
not to.
I have my mug. Unicorns are awesome. I am awesome. Therefore, I am a unicorn.
I like
I
it.
like that. I like that one.
You get a bowling for that.
Boing.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut in my variety of other ads so that we don't carry on for too much longer with putting in. I think we
Yes,
only
'cause-
got 3 of the 5. Well, we got 4 in.
We
Okay,
got
that's
4
not
in.
bad.
So
We
I'll
only are
s-
missing one.
I'll
That's
slam in another one.
me too.
somewhere.
I'll just pick a spot and cram it in there. But hey, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Barbara thanks you too, because she got to have the whole week off instead of just
Aw.
Sunday. She got Sunday and today.
Well,
And
we
Would
miss
have
her,
been more
but
fun
look
with
at you
Barbara.
keeping us to about an hour.
yes,
Look at
well,
you.
I'm always, it's my thing. I like structure. I like regularity. I like predictability.
Can
I
I-
enjoy
can I-
that stuff.
Can I
Yes.
say something I forgot real quick as
Please
we kept to time and then I gotta, Mary may have given me a tip with drying because I always hated drying in the tubs because back in the days before I wore earplugs, that sound legit hurt my ears, hurt so bad.
And it legit damaged your ears.
And it legit damaged my ears. So yes. So I'm thinking that the towels might soften the sound quite a bit.
Mhm.
So
It
that would be a huge help. I
Definitely.
just got to say.
Okay.
Yes, I'd give you the ding, but
Yay.
it's on a different page because I've got the outro going.
Oh, okay.
I have like 4 pages of sound effects on my board. So yeah, I'm way
Just
out
make
the
them with
end.
your mouth. Just make your silly sounds.
Yes, I can do some. So we will do this again. I mean, this is going to be a regular thing because it's super fun to hang out with you ladies. I really dig it. I love the commonality and I love the differences. And yeah, I miss Barbara, but still,
Yeah.
it was pretty awesome. Thank you so much
Good.
for being here. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to the show. Remember to support us on Patreon. Tell our sponsors that you are grateful for them supporting us because we are grateful for them supporting us as well. And happy grooming, everybody. See you next week on the Groom Pod. Bye-bye now.
Woohoo! Bye. Safe travels, guys.